Good afternoon. Today we're going to look at plying some linen thread. I've spun up 2 large spools of linen thread on my Ashford wheel with the woolee winder and these woolee winder bobbins. And now I'm in the process of winding it or plying it onto a larger bobbin that's longer and taller on my castle wheel. This is basically, I call it my plying wheel. It is a Irish tension, and it's a bobbin lead or spinning wheel. I don't like the angle of it because it angles backwards. I can't see what's going on here. It would be much nicer if this wheel was straight up so I could see it, or actually even leaning forward. But it was a locally built machine. It actually does spin quite well. And it came with 4 bobbins. I've got 3 different speeds on it, and it can do bulky to thin, and it works well. I had to modify the adjustment peg that's on here. I had to shorten that peg so it'll actually stay adjusted when I make my adjustment, my tension adjustment. Otherwise it didn't before. But what I do is I spin mostly dry for the linen thread, and then I ply it wet. And that helps smooth out the thread, so it's a lot smoother and going to be less trouble on the loom. And even with a nice ply, the resulting cloth turns out pretty nice, rather than doing singles. So I have keep my hands separating these guys here. So I'm just going to get everything started here. It's been a few days, and I've got a mark on the big wheel where I want to stop it, so it stops at the right spot. And what I have is one of these big super extra absorbent sponges that we got at one of the state fairs, and it just holds a ton of water, and it's really tough. And what I do is I've figured out how to get it on here, and I just let everything ply, and I hold it open across the sponge, and as it's going under my thumb, which is pressed into the sponge, it gets wet. And it gets wet, not just damp. It actually gets wet, and then I can get to another spot that make sure it needs to get wet. And then it takes all the little fuzzies and allows them to get twisted together in the plied yarn here. It's kind of stiff. It's kind of tough. It's not like super soft right out of the gate like wool is, but it is a different beast. This is natural fibers, and so that's what I do. And I just spin on here and let things get wet, let things ply on, and I've got a pretty good speed here, and I can see what I'm doing with the twist, and I let it get twisted, and then I just let it take it on. It doesn't yank it out of my hand, which is really nice, and it gets it wet. and it doesn't put a lot of pressure on the sponge, so the sponge doesn't get damaged, and it allows for a nice even placement of the threads as it's twisting for the ply, and gives a really nice ply here. And that's what I've been doing. I had a different type of sponge before, and I just kind of folded it and just let everything ride in between. And then when I want to stop, I just stop the wheel. Pull this out, spin it around, and then change my hook. So unfortunately, this one I have to change my hook. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the camera and I'm going to bring it close so you can see how I'm doing this nice up close version of this. And you can see everything. And I'll bring the camera up here so you can see the result of the plied versus the singles. I could do the singles. These singles are thick enough to where I could probably put them on the loom as it is, but I'd still rather have it plied. Maybe use singles as the weft and the plied as a warp would probably be suitable. So let me bring the camera. All right. So now we're back. So now you can kind of see what this looks like. Looks like twine. Looks like smooth twine. And but things look better once we get it make it into cloth. Then I just get this back out again. What I have is this sponge here, and I try and a little more. Just kind of like that. I think you can see that okay. And but I want it to get wet before the two strings come together. And I just kind of pull back and just kind of let everything feed. Kind of bring this around here. So one of the things you can see is you can see the water. So this thing holds lots and lots of water. just bring it back, feed it in, have a little pressure on my thumb there. As I pull back, I also pull back new threads coming. Let it feed on. So since this stuff isn't washed yet, it's kind of stiff. Once the cloth has been washed, it actually loosens up considerably and just kind of drapes, which is kind of what you want. And so this makes a good warp here, good and strong, nice and smooth, and may even be able to forego doing any sizing that some people have to do. Whoops-a-daisy. Not sure what happened there, but I just got tangled up in my... Okay, let me see what this is about here. Okay, that was a pretty easy... Oh, come on. All right, let's get this going again here. So you can see kind of how stiff all this stuff is. It's not like super drapey smooth. And then what I do is normally I just hold it in my hand. I'll lift it up. I'll tilt it towards me. Flip this around, which changes my hook. And then just go, and then just continue again. Like I said, the more I can get wet prior to all of this, the better. And then we just keep on going, and it's just going to be a long process here because I have a lot of thread. This might even be enough to put a warp on for a shirt. A lot of yards here. We'll count the yards later. There are a few spots that are kind of thin, but again, still don't have to have too much tension in the loom, and so there's less likely of anything breaking when things are plied. And weaving I really don't know anything about it. I am definitely very new to that. I'm trying to perfect this part more, and I'm getting better. And my next batch that I've spun up is actually even a little bit more consistent than what I did here, even though this is not bad. Okay, so we're going to stop there. This was just to kind of show you. And there you have the technique of how I ply wet.